Welcome to Stimulate Conversations, a sexual wellness business discussions podcast that supports the vast range of professionals supporting consumers from a business perspective within the sexual wellness space. My name is Nicole Lameck, your host, and the founder of Stimulate, a B2B sexual wellness trade show held annually in Nashville, as well as many other Stimulate experiences throughout the year. I'm also author of the book Retail 101 from McGraw-Hill and professor of retail marketing at Columbia, Chicago. From head to toe, young to mature, purpose to pleasure, Stimulate Conversations is committed to supporting sexual wellness professionals. Together with industry leaders as our guests, we look forward to delivering trusted and important conversations to help support retail, wholesale, spa, salon, and medical professionals who collectively want to help elevate and support their consumers within the sexual wellness community from an educated and professional perspective. Listeners of Stimulate Conversations can look forward to gaining expert-led insight from industry leaders, ranging from doctors to retail operational experts to industry visionaries and more. Without further ado, let's dive into Stimulate Conversations. Welcome to another edition of Stimulate, where I am thrilled to welcome Toby Ray. Toby is the founder of Design Well Spent, an international award-winning interior design and consultancy firm that specializes in retail as well as various other categories, and who will be joining me at the upcoming Stimulate show in Nashville, Tennessee, August 5th and 6th of this year. Before I reveal too much, though, let's go ahead and welcome Toby. So welcome, Toby. Excited you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here and really excited about the upcoming conference, Stimulate.
Thank you. We are too. Such as myself, I think maybe we're similar that we didn't always intend to fall within the sexual wellness space. We started with a love of retail or a love of something. So kind of tell us a bit about your professional background and bring us to where we are today.
Yeah, no, definitely didn't necessarily expect to be involved in this category, but really excited to be getting involved. My background really has always been in retail concept design. So started out my career at Starbucks Coffee Company, and I got to work there on several things, on Starbucks brands, but also we had a bunch of emerging brands like Tazo, Tivana, Evolution Fresh, things like that. Which really kind of established my career. And then I moved over to Amazon and was there for several years and helped them launch physical retail for the first time ever. With the launch of Amazon Books, we opened Amazon 4-Star and several other like pop-up type retail concepts. And at the tail end of my time at Amazon, started thinking that it might be fun to open my own company rather than just focusing on one brand at a time, which I had always done in-house. Get the opportunity to work with lots of different brands and use my expertise. And in December of 2019, I left my job at Amazon and opened DWS in January of 2020, which was just in time for a global pandemic. But here we are today, 4.5 years later, and we've grown from a company of one, which was just me in the beginning for the first 1.5 years, and now we're at about 17 strong on the team. So we've had a great growth, and it's been really exciting, and we've gotten to do a lot of great retail and hospitality work. So
that's amazing. I mean, congratulations, especially launching through a pandemic, surviving that launch. A new business in general can be a challenge. So I know a lot of our listeners cross categories and many of them are entrepreneurs. So I think we're going to be excited to hear what you have to say today. Well, tell us a little bit more about, I'm so fascinated about Design Well Spent, DWS, and how you bring stores, businesses, hospitality spaces to life. Because as a retail geek is how I would describe myself. I think that, the physical space is what brings inventory to life. It's what brings the experience. It's what shoppertainment is. And so you really bring it to life truly in every capacity. Talk to us about what that means to you. How do you consider that brick and mortar experience from a consumer and a professional perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it really is everything. And I think that's kind of the special sauce that DWS brings. We spend a lot of time in the beginning. We really feel like we want to be part of your team and we want to be a partner in this. And it's all about how are you planning on differentiating your business? What's the customer experience? Because time and time again, you look across retail as a fellow retail geek, that it's the companies that prioritize the customer experience and what that's really like and elevating that. Those are the ones that win, every time. And so it's always those early days working with clients is super important, where we really try to understand, what are you trying to do here? What are your differentiators? What's that experience that we're going to create for you that nobody else has? And that makes you stand out and makes customers never forget that experience they have.
Yeah, so valuable from that perspective. And I think that, my experience is that many people open a retail store, whatever category it might fall in many cases that's sexual wellness, and they have a love of the product they sell. They adore the communication to customers and helping to create inventory connections. But too often, what they don't think about is how that connectivity is shared, right, within that physical space. So bring me through, like, when you walk into that door, if you're evaluating the space, like, where do your eyes go? How do you start that design process?
Yeah. I think that hierarchy, like you said, like what's the first thing you see when you walk in is really important. It's not enough anymore to just have a store with just products lined up on a shelf. And to kind of bring it to the sexual wellness category, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, knowing the conference is coming and I'm excited to learn more about this category. When I think about innovation in this space, I really start to think through other opportunities where this is a space where people might not feel comfortable shopping for these things in front of other people. And how do we start to display the products or create other experiences where they're not just walking up to a shelf right next to somebody else they may feel uncomfortable shopping next to. So for me, it's really thinking through, like, what are the key objectives? What are the products that you're selling? The thing about sexual wellness too is it's such a broad category, like you said in your intro. It covers everything from, pleasure products all the way through like med spas and stuff like that. So it really comes down to, what's your business? What are the products you're selling? And what's the best, most ideal way to shop for those products? Everything beyond that needs to reinforce that through hierarchy, like you said, where it's like, what's the most important thing? What are the focal points? What are the feature moments? Sometimes you want to have products masked out, so it makes you really want to go up and pull things off the shelf. And other times you want things to be kind of on a pedestal or give them breathing room to have a feature moment. So it's kind of like there's just so many factors that go into it. But that's what I love about retail design, is that you're really taking a whole business model and figuring out like what's that ideal then translation into physical space.
Yeah, I love that. And as we were talking, I think my dog agreed. He chimed in there a little bit on. But he agreed with you. And what I love is that the customer is really the focus. Like, understanding who your customer is allows you to better then design for them. Like, do they want the privacy of discovery of inventory? Or are you catering to a clientele who maybe you're in an intimate space, such as a med spa, where they're already in a back room with you and you have an accent feature, or maybe even when they exit near the checkout, they're still in a place that they feel a little bit more comfortable, versus a mainstream retailer who we also welcome to stimulate. And I know you designed for as well. So all of those things are so important. And I think that that's one of the incredible things about design, is that you get to have that flexibility to bring things to life in different ways.
Yeah. And I would say too, like we also think a lot now these days about multi-channel, of course. So it's like anytime we're getting onboarded with a new client, it's also trying to understand like how else are you reaching your customers? It probably isn't just in this physical space. So how do we do a better job of connecting, what's happening on your mobile app or your website or what other method you're using, and then have that connect into the store experience? I think all too often, brands might be like really good in one way or another, but like the magic really happens when it's all really interconnected and every experience the customer touches works together and makes the other one better.
I love that. Spoken like a true retail geek, omni-channel, right? You're bringing that connectivity. Plus, as we know, consumers' path to purchase doesn't always begin in a brick and mortar store. It often does begin digitally through mobile, word of mouth, however that might be. So it's great that you kind of have that big vision of bringing it together. So that full clarity, I love that. Which speaks to your guys's, your reputation, which is that you guys really are leaders in this category of supporting retail retailers and brands would like. And you brought up a good point when you said brand. So I want to talk to you about that because you work with retailers, but you also work with brands. Like, how do brands work with a company like Design Well Spent?
Yeah, well, that's a great segue into something, I'd be remiss not to mention, which is we actually just brought on a new executive creative director, Kelsey Hansen, who is going to head up we just launched it this week. We're calling it the Brand Studio at DWS. And Kelsey has an extensive background in brand identity, positioning, strategy, logo development, environmental graphics, all of those things, which we think is going to be such a huge game changer for us at DWS because we'd usually partner with her or other groups like her, as a consultant, but now we have it all in-house. And so what I love about that is DWS is all about being an end-to-end service provider where we work with you from the beginning. And now we can even work with you on your positioning and brand strategy, help you develop your brand identity and in conjunction to that, develop your experience, your retail experience, your physical space, and bring that all the way through to execution. So we help our clients procure FF&E, we have a sourcing team, and we do construction management. So we can really help you all the way from truly the very beginning, even if you don't even have a name yet, all the way through to actually launching your store. So,
which is amazing. And yet one more thing to really think about on the brand side is from the beginning, right? Like what brand name does make sense. It is part of that total consumer experience. So I really love that. Congratulations, by the way, for bringing that in-house.
thank you.
Very cool. I want to dive in a bit more into the depths of sexual wellness specifically. When we talk about in-store design, you were talking about like maybe how you would shape that out differently, but you guys are actually doing something pretty cool at Stimulate with a few brands. So can you kind of give us like a little bit more insight to what you've done working with three brands, which are Future Method, Dame, and Leah Moon, and you might be able to reveal more, but can you kind of give us a tease of what that's going to look like and what our attendees or anybody who might not be able to join but can learn from us today, what you might be sharing there?
Yeah, I think really we're excited about the booth. We're partnered with Lynx Innovation, and they are a group that specializes in retail fixtures and display solutions. And so really excited that there's been a lot of work done with those brands that you mentioned in creating unique display fixtures that really highlight their brand and some of their products. To give you an example of how things might show up on the shelf or in store differently. I think one of the things I'm hoping that everyone gets out of the booth and coming to see the experience and is just this idea that you can kind of be fully immersed in what it's like to work with us, see examples of our portfolio work. We're going to bring a lot of things that you can kind of touch and feel and pick up, which, for me, when I think about the sexual wellness category, sensual sensations, those sort of things are really key to this category. And we want to kind of play with that and feature that in our booth. But the idea is really that you get the idea of what it's like to work with us, with a partner like Lynx Innovation, and see some examples of those displays.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I know that like that immersive experience is so much of what you guys create. So I'm personally excited, very, very much excited for that as well. And to see how you work with each of their respective brands and how different brands. So just for those listening, Leah Moon, for example, is a vaginal steamer. It's very much focused on women's wellness for all touch points of their life. So from youth to mature, this is a product that shapes to everyone. So sexual wellness really is purpose to pleasure, right? So that reinforces that. But then you have Dame, which provides a variety of sexual wellness products, primarily focused in the pleasure category. And then Future Method is really catering towards primarily gay men, and it has a totally different spin to it. So what I love is that you're working with such distinct different brands and bringing that through, your experience as well. And I think our attendees will love that too. So super excited about that. Now, as we look ahead to like beyond August and beyond what we get to experience with you, what's next for Design Well Spent?
That's a great question. I think that what's next for us is we're really looking forward to kind of with all these expanded services that we're offering, get to work with brands on end-to-end concepts. And I'm hoping that we find some great partners at Stimulate to do just that. I think one of the things that I definitely wanted to make sure everybody walks away with on this call is that, there's a lot of companies out there that can design a beautiful space. But I think that Design Well Spent really is looking for people to partner who want to innovate. And this category is an up and coming new category. It reminds me a lot of like the cannabis industry in the early days where there was a lot of stigma around it. And a lot of companies were kind of like shy about like getting into that. And I think that DWS is all in on this category. We want to help innovate and set a crazy high bar for retail experiences in this category. We're not shying away from it. And so we're really hoping to find brands and groups that are really excited about doing something unique and different, not just like traditional retail, but really cool, unique experiences. So that's what I'm really excited about for our future. And we just want to do more of that. That's really what we're here for.
What I love is that this category and your vision of your own business growth really overlap in the sense of innovation. I mean, there's so much innovation within sexual wellness, whether it's sex tech or science-backed companies. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity, which is why it's so exciting to share the visionaries behind so much the inventory with a visionary like yourself who helps bring their visions to life, right? it does take a team to truly make anything successful at retail. So I love that you guys are joining us along with Leaks Innovation, and we're super excited to Stimulate. And I always do something at the end of my podcast that I like to refer to as sort of some rapid fire questions. And those rapid fire questions, they're a lot of fun. Are you in for it, Toby?
I'm in for it.
All right. So quick questions, quick replies. And the very first one is, what does sexual wellness mean to you?
Sexual wellness to me is everything with wellness is all interconnected. And so I think like to have a healthy sexual wellness in your life is to just be a healthy, happy person. And so I just don't think you can have one without the other.
I like that a lot. And how do you define good customer service?
I think it's all about meeting the customer where they are and getting ahead of what their needs are.
Absolutely. And what keeps you personally inspired?
Travel. I would say just getting out there and traveling and seeing new things and experiencing people and food. That's always what inspires me.
Yeah, we can hang out. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
And what keeps you professionally inspired?
I think, well, having conversations like this and getting to meet people that are doing different things in the industry or in adjacent industries, to me, that's really exciting because I always walk away with new ideas or new things to think about, new things to research. So for me, it's just staying engaged and meeting new people in the industry or adjacent.
Love that. And finally, last question here is, what is your best advice for business leaders?
That's a great question. Oh, wow. I would say probably like never give up. Like I just see like business owners and starting a business and running a business. It's all about just continuing to go after it. Like just trying to get ahead of things and not giving up. Because there are times where I think it can be really daunting and things can come up and it's scary. But it's just kind of like forging ahead and never giving up.
Yeah, because like you're a great example of that, COVID, right? And you kept pushing ahead. So, and here you are 17 employees later and on your way to Nashville. So all good things. So, well, it was so great speaking with you, Toby. I'm very excited to have the retail experience with Design Well Spent and Leaks Innovation coming up here soon. And thank you to all of those who've tuned in. Stimulate Conversations offers year-round ways to stay in touch between our podcasts, including a private Facebook community for ongoing and more in-depth discussions supporting sexual wellness and business. It's a Facebook group called Stimulate Sexual Wellness Business Discussions. And you can stay connected on Instagram via the handle Stimulate the Show. Additionally, you can stay in touch at stimulate@retailminded.com. I'm Nicole Leinbach, the founder of Stimulate, and together with the entire Stimulate team, we look forward to continued discussions that will, you guessed it, keep you stimulated on the business of sexual wellness. Till next time, stay stimulated. Stimulate Conversations offers year-round ways to stay in touch between our podcasts, including a private Facebook community for ongoing and more in-depth discussions, which you can find via Facebook at the group name Stimulate. Sexual Wellness Business Discussions. You can also stay connected via Instagram at the handle Stimulate the Show. And you're welcome to email us at stimulate@retailminded.com. I'm Nicole Lineback, founder of Stimulate and your host. And together with the entire Stimulate team, we look forward to continued discussions that will, you guessed it, keep you stimulated on the business of sexual wellness. Till next time, stay stimulated.